This trickle of water may not seem so impressive, especially for anyone coming from Europe or North America, but hey, we are in the Holy Land, and it's not the only one can see here. There are a few places where there are water dripping out of the bedrock. There's another little dripping over here. You need to get the camera really close to see it, but it is happening. And this is all part of a little system of springs that is providing like drip irrigation to this valley, making it all so nice, lush, and especially in this time of the year it all looks so beautiful. But it's also a demonstration why the Jewish sources tell us that this is the place from where willows came. Willow is a water plant, and while it may not sound like a desirable plant in your cooking, it did and still has a very significant role in Jewish religious activity. In fact, to this day, in the festival of the tabernacles, the Jews will use 4 species, and willow is one of them. And in the days of the temple, we are told that willows were used on the altar. But the willows used for the altar came from here, from Moza. But wait, what's all of this got to do with following Jesus in Jerusalem? So shalom everyone. Welcome to another vlog by Danny the Digger. And this time, within the end of the series of following Jesus in Jerusalem, we are reviewing the riddle of Emmaus. After his resurrection, appearing to Mary Magdalene, we are told by the Gospel of Luke that he appeared to 2 people that were walking from Jerusalem to Emmaus. He joined them. They did not recognize who he is. They told him about the rising of the person in Jerusalem. He kept silence. And when they got to Emmaus, they invited him over for a meal. And when he cut the bread, their eyes were open. It's him! But he disappeared. The question I ask as an archaeologist dealing with history, geography, and archaeology of this land is, where is Emmaus? And in one of my previous chapters, I have gone to the site known as Emmaus Nicopolis, the site that has been suggested by Byzantine period sources to be that location, the site where archaeology has found a church both from Byzantine time, Crusader time, and even today in our times there is a Catholic order maintaining the place. But as we've discussed it, there is a problem with the distance. It is just too far. The distance provided by the Gospel of Luke is 60 stadia, about 7 miles, 11 kilometers is the gap between Jerusalem to that Emmaus. And Emmaus Nicopolis is more than double. It is 160 stadia. It is 29 kilometers, or about 12 miles, 13 miles perhaps, from that city. So no wonder the Crusaders in their time suggested to locate Emmaus elsewhere, closer to Jerusalem, and they suggested to place it at Abu Ghosh. Abu Ghosh can almost be seen from here. It is like, wait, let me change the lens. This is, by the way, a beautiful, nice coffee place, and this is a beautiful sunny noon, but let's not get distracted here. Abu Ghosh is just over the ridge there, and Jerusalem, while we're at it, is just around the corner. I mean, modern Jerusalem begins, this is actually Jerusalem's main cemetery. They're running out of space, so they're now burying the dead in what looks like parking lots, but these are really parking lots for the dead. But anyway, again, I'm being distracted. This is the site where the Jewish Mishnah tells us that the willows came from, and it names it. It calls it Moza. Moza is also known from the Old Testament, from the book of Joshua, as a Jewish village not far from Jerusalem, maybe named after Moza ben Zimri, the Benjaminite. No one has a clear answer on this, but how can we connect all of this to the story given in the Gospel of Luke? It is the testimony provided by Josephus. Josephus, at first century, very, very detailed historian that is documenting the time of Jesus, the rebellion that began about 30 years after Jesus is not here anymore, and how the Romans came to suppress, to crush the Jewish resistance. And at the end of it, he tells us that Vespasian gave 800 of his veteran soldiers that participated in destroying Jerusalem. He gave them land in the former Jewish village of Moza, but he calls it in the Greek version, are you ready for this? Emmaus. Emmaus. Now that sounds very close to Emmaus. There is one letter difference. Emmaus in Luke starts with an epsilon, and Josephus starts that name with an alpha. But it has the other letters just lined up the same way. Now that's very, very interesting, and Emmaus Moza should definitely be identified here, because we know from the sources that later the veterans changed the name from Emmaus Moza to Colonia. It is, after all, a Roman colony here. And the Arabs had an Arab village here until 1948 named Colonia. In fact, on the opposite side of the valley, one can see, where is it? There. One can see the summer house of the Mufti of Jerusalem, Haj Amin al-Husseini, one of the greatest anti-Zionists and anti-Semites that met with Hitler and was more than happy to cooperate with his final solution plan. And that might also explain why the Arabs of Colonia in 1929 came, raided, and killed all the Jews that were living right here. I'm standing on top of a former 19th century Jewish house. Now it's an historical monument, and the synagogue of the community is here in the back. Now, the fact that this site was settled also in the time of Jesus was proven when certain excavations were carried out here in the 1970s. I've asked quite a few archaeologists, but there's nothing visible here beyond, semi-modern times. But they did actually find here first century remains, including a fresco, indication of a nice house that used to exist here. Furthermore, brand new information for me, on the opposite side of this historical monument, exactly where the crane is, in 2011, salvage excavations prior to establishing another bridge into Jerusalem have uncovered, are you ready for this? A Byzantine church. Maybe that Byzantine church was a local tradition of commemorating Emmaus at this location. This is indeed a very interesting possibility, and there are some that claim that Emmaus should be identified at this location. But there is one problem. There is one problem, and it's again the distance. Josephus, who tells us that this is Colonia, also tells us the distance of Colonia, he calls it Emmaus, is 3 conta stadia, 30 stadia from this site to Jerusalem. And what do we know about the distance in Luke between Jerusalem and Emmaus? Hexaconta, 60 stadia. This site is simply too close. Okay, and indeed, this site is about 5 kilometers from the old city of Jerusalem. In fact, this highway generating all this endless noise, leads into the modern city of today. As I said, this is the cemetery. The modern city of Jerusalem is right around the corner, right behind it. And the old city is indeed about, 3-4 miles away from here. That's not the distance given by Luke. So yes, there is a problem. And if you want to get even more confused, there is another candidate. There is another site that has been proposed, has been dug, has proven to yield first century remains, and that's over the top of the ridge. Aha! So in order to cover all possibilities, guess what? The next chapter is going to be over the top of that ridge at a site called Khirbet Bet Miza. Again, the name seemed to be preserved in the Arabic name of those ruins. And for this, you'll have to wait for my next chapter. So again, thank you all for all of those watching me. Those who have just joined, make sure to hit like, to hit subscribe, get alerts. And especially, I thank you all so much for all of those who are contributing to my vlog and those who are considering to do so. I thank you already now. Thank you so much. God bless you. Toda rabah. And until the next chapter, Shalom from Motza.